They said the war would end in weeks. They said honor would be enough. But when the first cannon fired, the world learned a terrible truth. There is no winner in a great war. This is not the story of heroes written in history books. This is a story of broken soldiers, silent mothers, and a world drowning in its own ambition. This is the story of the Great War. Before the war, the world was alive. It was a time of unprecedented progress, a gilded age where cities glowed with new electric lamps, children played freely in cobblestone streets, and young soldiers dreamed of medals and parades, not graves. Empires stood tall, proud, and completely blind to the abyss that lay before them. From London to Berlin, from Vienna to St. Petersburg, each power believed in its own divine destiny. Each believed they were unstoppable, protected by alliances, and powered by industry. They were convinced a short, decisive war would only make them greater, solidifying their place in history. They were tragically, catastrophically wrong. One bullet, one moment, one political decision that shook the very foundations of the earth. The sky, once a canvas of blue and white, burned red as cannons roared like angry gods, their voices echoing across continents. Fields that once grew wheat now grew crosses. Trenches, hastily dug, filled with mud, blood, and a thick, suffocating fear. Young men who had never killed before, who had been taught that life was sacred, learned just how quickly humanity can disappear when survival is the only law. The Great War, the war to end all wars, had begun, and with it, a new age of slaughter. Days blurred into an endless nightmare. The trenches became a world unto themselves, a grotesque parody of civilization. Rats, grown fat and bold, feasted where hope once lived. The constant rain turned the earth into a cold, liquid grave, drowning the wounded before doctors could even reach them. In this bleak reality, letters from home became priceless treasures, a fragile link to a world that seemed a lifetime away. They were read and reread until the ink faded and the paper wore thin. But eventually, some soldiers stopped writing back. Not because they forgot, but because they knew no words could ever explain this hell. Every sunrise meant another day of survival. Every sunset meant counting the faces that were no longer there. Among the millions caught in this machine was a young soldier named Elias. He wasn't a general or a strategist. He was just a boy from a small village with a promise to keep. Before he left, clutching a worn photograph, he promised his little sister, "I'll come back. I swear it." But war does not care about promises. It tests. Test meet bends. Tem meet breaks tem. In the chaos of the front lines, Elias fought not for king or country, not for glory, but for her. He fought to keep that one simple promise alive in a world determined to extinguish it. Then came the gas, a new, terrifying weapon. It was invisible, silent, and utterly merciless. It drifted over the battlefield like in morning mist, a creeping phantom of death. Men screamed without a single visible wound. Eyes burned as if touched by fire. Lungs collapsed, starved of air. The battlefield, already a scene of carnage, became a graveyard of breathless souls, their faces frozen in a final, silent agony. For the first time, even the commanders in their distant headquarters began to fear the monster they had unleashed upon the world. When the guns finally fell silent and the war slowed to its end, the world erupted in celebration. They called it peace, but for the millions buried under foreign soil, peace came far too late. The cities still stood, but the families that inhabited them were shattered beyond repair. The war officially ended on paper, with treaties and signatures, but it lived on, a phantom guest in every home. A dark shadow in the memories of a generation. Elias returned home, a survivor. But the boy who had left his village, full of dreams and life, never did. The Great War didn't just change the maps of the world. More importantly, it changed mankind. It was a brutal, bloody lesson that taught the world that unchecked power has a price, and that ambition, when it runs rampant, can destroy everything it touches. History calls it the Great War. But for those who lived it, for those who breathed its poison and felt its losses, it was simply the end of innocence. And remember this, wars don't begin on battlefields with the sound of cannons and the cries of men. They begin long before, in the quiet, confident minds of men who believe they are right. Thank you for watching.